What it do, what it do, what it do, fam? It's your brother, it's your boy, it's your fellow and humble servant, Young Prop, here with the first episode, the very first episode of the Iron Furnace. The Iron Furnace, people, the Iron Furnace podcast, where it's about to be the illest thing. It's about to be the dopest, about to be the livest, about to be the realest. You know what I mean? High vibes over here, trying to do something big. I was going to do an introduction, but I scrapped it. I was like, no, I ain't going to do no introduction. I'm going to just go ahead and jump straight into this thing. You know, introduce myself to the world. You know? And we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things on this podcast. We're going to be talking about a lot of things that's spark some conversations that need to be had. And on this first episode, what I wanted to talk about, man, y'all probably seen it. Y'all probably seen the video where it had the lady, it had the European lady and her daughter was crying. Her daughter was crying, and she was asked what's wrong, and the reason she was crying is the little girl said that her friend, another little girl who happens to be black, said that she can't come to her sleepover because my mom doesn't want me around white people. All right. Now, I first thought somebody would be like, oh no, that's not right. Right? But the problem the problem that I have, the problem that I have is the label this lady had on the video. The title or whatever she had on her video. And what she had on the video said, "This is what racism looks like. Stop teaching this to your children." This is what she had. That's the main problem that I have. Coming from a European descended woman. Oh, man. She said, this is what racism. See, my problem with that, coming from a person of European descent, is that this is being seen as a weaponization. You are seizing this opportunity to cry, woe is me. Woe is me, woe is me, oh my God, all up in arms, this is what racism look like. You know why I have a problem with that? Is because this is coming from this is coming from the side belonging to a people as a collective that has literally spent the last 500 years being racist and practicing white supremacy against everybody else, especially the so-called black man and black woman in America. Now, I'm not attacking this lady. I don't know her. You know, she could be a good person for all I know. I don't know her. But her stating that this is what racism looks like is, in my opinion, your privilege is showing. Because that comes from a place to where you are oblivious to what real racism looks like. Oblivious to history. Oblivious to everything that went on in history. To really take one little incident and say, this is what racism looks like. I seen this video. She tried to that title alone it was annoying. The audacity to label the video "This is what racism looks like." This goes to show the entirely different reality they live in from the reality that we live in, so-called black people in America. In my opinion, you know what racism looks like to them? Racism is simple and superficial shit, like she was talking about in this video. This is what racism looks like. Racism to them. Now wait a minute. Before I continue, let me make this disclaimer. I'm talking about these quote unquote patriots as a collective. I'm talking about as a whole. Not individually. There's good people out here. There's good people out here. Understand that. I'm talking about as a collective. This mindset as a collective. Because to put "this is what racism looks like" and totally ignore history, it to me it don't make sense. Now, in my opinion, when you hear the descendants of Europeans saying stuff like this, I believe in their eyes, racism to them is others pointing out their racism. Like critical race theory, like how they're responding to critical race theory. They are up in arms about critical race theory because they don't want that history, that real side, that dark side. They don't want nobody knowing. They claim they don't want their children knowing about that dark side of history. I mean, why not though? Y'all did it. Why not? And I got to bring all this up because the lady in the video stated this is what racism looks like. Like, is it? Like, this lady 9 times out of 10 has a very logical explanation on why she feels like that. And I'm gonna tell you what more than likely I believe it is. But since she said this is what racism looks like, I'm just giving my opinion on what could it possibly look like to a people that has been perpetuating racism for the last couple centuries. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean this is what racism looks like? As if this is something that we've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. Let's continue. Racism to them, in my opinion, y'all, is when, just like in this video, when people wisely decide not to tolerate their racism anymore and avoid them. Which is probably what the lady is deciding to do. Not because of those so-called white women in the video. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know them. So it has to be based on the actions of their people. That's making individuals such as this lady decide not to allow her child to go around them. And honestly, I don't blame her. Like, if you think about everything that has been going on throughout history in this country, ever since the European has arrived on this land, ever since, it's been nothing but hell for so-called black people living among the descendants of these Europeans. It's been nothing but hell as a collective. And for her to say this is what racism looks like, it just implies to me that she's just using this opportunity to try to call this lady racist. And I think that situation no, I don't think it was the lady being racist. I think it was actually her just being wise about who she wants her child to be around. She's protecting her child, just like anybody would do. If there was a group of bullies over here, would you want your child going around those bullies? No, you're going to want to protect your child. And I'm not saying that this lady or her or any of her family or any of that, I'm not saying that they're that type of people. But the sister who is not allowing her child to be around them is taking precautions to protect her child. She doesn't know them people. She doesn't know them people. So it was wise for her to do that. And if she said that she don't want them around them white people, it's more than likely because of the things that the so-called white people in America as a collective have been found doing. It's just, and I guess to them, to this mindset that feels like this is what racism looks like, it must be racist when somebody's taking precautions against you, when you have a track record, when your people have a track record, a historical track record of being racist. Listen, she said this is what racism looks like. I'm touching on this the way I am because it's like, why would you be, why, really? Listen, you can't use this situation talking about this is what racism looks like. You know why? You know why you can't say that as a person of European descent? You cannot say that because you, as a collective, you have never ever experienced real racism. In the 400 or 500 years that the European has been on this American continent, they have never experienced what real racism is like. So how can you say this is what racism looks like? Are you serious? Are you for real? Listen, they never experienced an entire race of people acting as one in their hatred against them. You have never experienced, you don't know what that's like. You have no idea what it's like to have an entire people, all of this hive mind. You have never had an entire people acting against you. You have never had an entire society discriminating against you simply because you're quote unquote white. You have never experienced that. So how can you say this is what racism looks like? How? I don't get it. I don't understand. Now look, let me remind y'all, shout out to the ones that understand. Shout out to the ones that get it. Shout out to the ones that get it. Look, they have never experienced having crosses burnt in their yard. Like, what do you mean this is what racism looks like? You've never had anybody burning anything in your yard. You haven't had the experience of a whole group of a certain demographic of people kicking in your door, dragging your husband out of the house, lynching and hanging him in front of his wife and kids. Have you ever experienced anything like that? I highly doubt it. You never experienced your people being hung and killed, and the guilty person walks scot-free, while the society of his people blames the victim for their own death. What do you mean this is what racism looked like? You never experienced real racism. You can't take one little instance. You don't even understand her reason why she decided to tell her child that. You're just saying, oh my goodness, she don't want to be around white people. This is what racism looks like. Your privilege is showing. Your privilege is showing. Come on now. Have you ever had, have this people ever had patents from inventions, ideas of inventions stolen, and the credit and wealth given to somebody non-European, non-white? I've never heard of that. The list goes on, fam. But that's my problem with the video. They're using this video to cry, woe is me. Woe is me. Oh my God, racism is happening. Racism is happening against me. Oh my goodness. It would hit different if you didn't have the historical track record that you had. It would hit different then. But when you have a record like that, an entire people having a record like that, you have, and now this is my opinion, you have no right to be talking about this is what racism looked like when it was your people dishing out racism hardcore for the past centuries. How can you do that? How can you do that? You're completely ignoring what your ancestors have done and what unfortunately is still going on to this day. You're ignoring all of that to take one little situation and say this is what racism looks like. You have no idea what racism looks like. Now this ain't an attack. I'm not attacking. I'm not doing nothing like that. I'm just pointing out what I think is crazy. This is what racism looks like? Let me tell you why this is foolishness. They're sitting here playing, they're using this opportunity to play victim and seize it to their advantage. And one thing that I find funny is that when you have a group that's perpetuated racism and the idea of white supremacy and acted upon it without shame. Now, once again, I'm not talking about this lady individually. I don't know her. I'm just speaking about as a collective, because I'm pretty sure she's not the only one who feels like that. Whereas as soon as they get an inkling that somebody don't like them for being white, because they're assuming that's why, because you're white. Now let me throw this in there. Let me throw this in there real quick. I am pretty sure that if you have any individuals that are of color, that are so-called black people, that feel like they don't want nothing to do with those of European descent, it's not because you're European. It's not because you're quote unquote white. That's not why people ain't trying to mess with you. It's because of the actions of your people. You might not be that way. Shout out to the white folks that ain't like that. You are appreciated. Shout out to the ones that are genuinely not like that, that don't have that mindset. But as a collective, anyone that is black and brown, non-white, that feels some kind of way towards so-called white folks, it's not because you're white. Nobody has a problem with you being white. Nobody has a problem with you being a white person. The problem is the actions of your people. You cannot keep doing the things that your people have been doing for so long and then just expecting everybody to love you. It's not going to happen. You're going to have some people that refuse to forget, especially when the historical atrocities that's been done has never been made amends for. Not only has it never been made amends for, to this day, As a collective, they refuse to make amends for it. They feel like, shoot, I ain't never owned no slaves, so what I got to do? That ain't my problem. But it is. You know why? Because you're benefiting off of the atrocities of your ancestors. Like I said, this ain't no attack. This ain't no attack, but a lot of that kind with that mentality, they always feel like when you calling out the BS, it's an attack. It's a personal attack. No, we're just addressing the actions that's being taught. You can't be of a people that perpetuated racism and the idea of white supremacy and acted upon it without shame for centuries. You can't be of that group and cry woe is me when you get the smallest inkling of feeling. You don't even know for sure. You feel like somebody's being racist towards you. Now, everything that so-called black people have went through in America, man, we can smell racism from a mile away. Come on, man. We can smell racism from a mile away. We know what it looks like. You don't know what it looks like. We know, we experience it on a daily basis. And the thing is, those of the European persuasion, as a collective, they know full well what their people have done to ours. They know full well. They just turn a blind eye to it. This is why I got a problem. It's one of the reasons why I have a problem with the label, with her labeling her video, this is what racism looks like. Because you know full well what black people have been through in America. Hell, all over the world. You're not ignorant of that. But hey, it's not happening to you. It's not a problem until you feel like it's happening to you. As long as it's happening to everybody else, you don't hear these people as a collective standing up against it. You don't hear about that. You might have individuals, and shout out to them. You got the individuals that are standing up against it. But as a collective, you're not seeing that. What you mean this is what racism looks like? Y'all known what y'all've done for decades, for centuries, yet who's doing anything to stop it except for individuals? I'm just saying. And the mother of the child who said that I don't want you around those white people, the sister, her reasons for not allowing her child to be around those Europeans, which is her right, is complete. The reasons, all right, here's what I'm gonna say. Anybody who feels that way, any person that is so-called black that feels that way, it has their reasons. Our reasons are completely different from, let's say, a white person's reasons for not allowing their children to play with black children, if they choose to do that. You know, our reason for not doing it, for those of us that choose to say, hey, I don't want you hanging out with those white kids. I don't want you going over there to this white family's house. Our reason for saying that don't have nothing to do with hating white people, but it has everything to do with knowing what they are capable of. As a collective now, keep that in mind. We know what those of us that got sense anyway. Because you got those of us that want to act like history don't exist either. But we, from experience, know from experience and seeing the reality of what's been going on, we know what we know what these people are capable of. And don't get mad at me for saying that. Get mad at the actions of your people. That's all I'm saying. Actions speak louder than words. The reason why you got some of us that's like, no, I'm not gonna let my child go over there and spend a night. It's because of the actions of the European as a collective. I don't have enough fingers to count how many black children and adults have died in the company of the descendants of Europeans. Shoot, there's a story out right now about a sister who just got killed by a white man she was messing with. She was looking, she wanted to find out a little zaddy, found herself a zaddy, and whatever transpired, that woman ended up found murdered by this white man in the morning. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Just like, and she's not the only one. She's not the only one. There are a lot of sisters out here who chose to get involved with Zaddy and ended up losing their life. Shout out to the interracial couples that are truly in love. You dig? Shout out to the individuals that are truly in love. If that's what if you shout out to y'all. I ain't even gonna go too deep into that part because I got my thoughts on that too. But shout out to the interracial couples that are deeply in love, that are truly in love, and it goes deeper than complexion for y'all. But there's a lot of sisters out here who got involved with white men and ended up dead. There's a lot of sisters out here that got involved with white men and they get online and they tell their experiences about how they got involved with this man and then finds out this dude's racist as hell. This dude's racist as hell. And then a lot of them be getting married to these dudes. Oh, and it ain't just white men. It's black men who get caught up with women too. Who find out later when it's too late that you locked yourself in with a racist. There's a story I think is old. It's probably old by now, but it's a brother who exposed his baby moms, who happened to be a white woman. And the his baby moms had a problem with their biracial child having braids. So her racism came out. It's insane. This is why I gotta say, as a collective, shout out to the individuals that don't have that mindset. Shout out to you for real. But as a collective, and when you know what's messed up, the Europeans in America, or shoot, all around the world that truly ain't like that, they gotta catch the flat and get accused of being like that because of the actions of their people. And that's messed up. That's messed up. That ain't anybody else's problem, but it's messed up that the entire whole has gained such a reputation to those with eyes to see and ears to hear. They done gained such a reputation over the last couple hundred years that now the ones you don't even hear from, every now and then, yeah, you'll have some that come up, making videos and they calling out the evil of their own people, but they gotta take the flat because of the actions of their people. Just recently, a Jamaican brother in Pennsylvania made the fatal mistake of going hunting with a group of white men. And you know what happened? That brother ended up dead. I believe it said 2 bullets in the butt, a few bullets in his chest, and 1 in his head, I think. And then they had the nerve to call it self-defense. claim it was self-defense. This is why I have a problem with that lady labeling her video, "This is what racism looks like." Saying, "This is what racism look like. Stop teaching this to their children." You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. So-called black people don't teach their children to hate white people. We don't do that. We're not that kind of people. We might warn our children of what you're capable of and to watch out. That's smart. That's wise. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. Why would I show my kids a group of snakes but not warn my kids that these snakes could possibly bite them? That would be crazy. That's why I have a problem with her saying this is what racism look like. Lady, no, I'm not attacking you, but I'm just trying to help you out. You have no idea what racism looks like. You think you know, apparently, according to that video, you think you know, but you have no idea what real racism looks like. How about another story? A couple years ago. Google these stories up. I ain't making this stuff up. Google these stories up. It was a family, a Hebrew family, a so-called black family, who allowed their little boy into the care of a family of European descent to go, I guess maybe it was to hang out or go to some event. And sadly, the boy ended up missing. He ended up missing for days. The family went out asking around, "Where's my son? Anybody know where my son is?" And eventually the little boy was found dead in the field. Nobody knows what happened. But guess what? The family that he was in the care of fled and moved away somewhere. They got low. They got ghosts to keep from going to jail. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I mean when this is not 9 times out of 10. This is why the sister decided to tell her child, "No, you're not going over to that sleepover because I don't want you around white people." This is why. Stuff like this that goes on. And what? The type of stuff that's going on that's supposed to get ignored? No, only a fool would ignore that. And that's why I say that lady is not saying that because you're a white person. Like she hates white people. No, she's protecting her child. That lady's protecting her child. That lady's protecting her child. That's why she don't want her around. That's why she don't want her to go. I'd do the same thing. I'm sorry, I'd do the same thing. I'm not about to let my daughter go have a sleepover with this family of European descent. And number one, I don't know them. I don't even know this family. My child might go to school with the little girl. They might be friends at school. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But I don't know her family. But what I do know is the things that her people as a collective do. So why would I just say, yeah, you know what? Go ahead. You can go have a sleepover over their house. No, I'm not doing that. I gotta protect my babies. Come on, man. It ain't got nothing to do with hating you. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It got everything to do with protecting my kid, though. You know, I don't want, and I can't even imagine that story. I can't even imagine hearing not being able to find my baby, my daughter, for days after I let her go to a sleepover, after I let her go hang out with this family. And then this family end up being treacherous. And then something happening to my daughter, my black daughter. No, I can't even fathom that. So to even avoid that, no, baby, no, we're all right. No, we're okay. Nah, she can come over here. She can maybe she can spend the night over here. Another situation where there was another situation where a sister, and this is in Georgia. A sister in Georgia. Her co-workers offered her to come through for an adult sleepover, matter of fact. It was an adult sleepover. You know? And the sister ended up going, took the invitation and went. Only so-called black person there. And ended up being the only person found dead in the morning. This is why I got a problem with you saying this is what racism look like. This is what racism look like. And recently, maybe this is a couple months old, there was a brother in the woods who was with a group, and that group was trying to hang the dude. They was trying, and it was recorded. This was on video. This was on video. They was trying to hang this dude. Luckily he got away, I believe. But they was trying to hang this dude. Man, I don't care if you playing. Man, don't play with me like that. But see, I wouldn't even be found in that situation. To be in the woods with a group that belongs to the group of people that has been historically at odds with my people. This is just called being aware. It ain't got nothing to do with hating them. This is called being aware. It's called keeping your head on a swivel. Come on now. The most foolish thing one can do is to ignore history. Come on now. Shoot, what the saying goes? You bound to repeat it. If you don't learn from history, you bound to repeat it. Maybe that's why we still getting found lynched. We're not learning from history. This is the atrocities that have been going on and it's still going on today. We need to learn from that. We need to learn and be like, look, man, it ain't you being white that I have a problem with. It's the actions of your people. And I gotta take the precautions to be safe. To make sure me and mine is safe. You got white supremacists out here running up on people, just running up on black folks, just stabbing them for no reason. Again, I'm not accusing that lady in the video of being a white supremacist. I don't know her. But I'm just saying, this is why I got a problem with you talking about this is what racism looks like. And see, white people's reason, not all of them, because I gotta keep reiterating that because y'all know how people can be. Y'all know how this generation is. Take everything and smack it left field. So I gotta keep saying that. But those with that mindset, their reason for not wanting their children around black children is based on a lot of them is based on a historically hardcore prejudice they've had against us since day one. Based on them feeling like they're better than us because once upon a time we used to be their slaves. Whoop-de-doo. Who don't know that? That don't make you better than me. They still feel, a lot of them still feel that way. Shoot, a lot of your politicians feel that way. Mitch McConnell just said basically that black people ain't Americans. Shoot, if you only knew. If you only knew. Can you say indigenous? Can you say Aboriginal? Can you say American Indian? But that's another topic. There are reasons of those of that mindset for not wanting their kids around us is historical hatred. Period. And then she had the ladies had in the video had the nerve to say, "Stop teaching this to your children." We don't teach our children to hate white people. We don't teach that. I don't teach that. So why would you even put that up? This is what racism looks like. Stop teaching this to your children. As if black people across America just teach their children to hate white people. No, cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. I just had to give my opinion on that, y'all. I thought that was crazy. I thought it was crazy that she said that. And I just had to give my thoughts on it. First episode of the Iron Furnace. Finally here. Finally on deck. I want to appreciate those of you who tuned in. I want to appreciate those of y'all for the support. Yes, sir. I want y'all to like it, subscribe for more, because there will be more. There will be more on many different things, on many different subjects. There will be more. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think. Think I'm wrong? Let me know. We men, we adults, we grown women, we grown men. Let's talk. Iron Furnace, baby. The Iron Furnace podcast, hosted by your brother, your fellow and humble servant, your fellow comrade, Young Prop. I love y'all. Y'all be safe. Shalom. Whoa, hold on. Before I go, wait. I want to shout out my big bro, Problems and Solutions podcast. Go holla at that. Check him out. MoyasLifestyle.com. Shout out to my cuz, Maniac, Jizzle, Drip Game Saucy with the game streaming. Check him out for y'all that's into the video games, for y'all that like that. Check it out. It's real saucy over there. He gonna crack up when you hear that. It's real saucy. Get lost in the sauce. I love y'all, man. I love y'all. Y'all stay safe. Signing off. Shalom.